Great day, great day. This is Tammy J with the Texture of Me. Welcome to the show. Our show provides a place where people can voice their experiences and having dealt with discrimination because of the texture of their hair. Great day, great day. This is Tammy J with the Texture of Me, and welcome to the show. I am so excited to have our very own Dr. Maiysha Clairborne. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm very excited to be here. I so appreciate you inviting me on and just to be able to have a conversation with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I always like to start off where who my guests are for me. I think about the work that you're doing and transforming people's mindset to
Mm,
transform their lives. I mean, you're epitome of transformation, word and thought processes. People could have a whole new life through your work.
mm.
And so I'm just really moved and inspired by who you are, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tammy. And just thank you for allowing me the space and the platform to share here, my experience and in all capacities. And especially I'm looking forward to the conversation about the hair.
Yes. Well, just a few things to share with our listeners and viewers. You are integrative family physician, a master practitioner and trainer of NLP
Mhm.
and hypnosis and timeline therapy, and the founder of Mind Remapping Academy. Wow.
Yeah.
That is, oh, I mean, so many words, so many things in that, but I could just, when I think about it, how impactful that is. When we change our mind, we change our world.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what's so um impactful about it for me is that people don't think about how simple it can be
Yeah.
um from the space of we change the words that we're speaking. The words that we're speaking, we're also listening to.
Mm,
And so our self-talk really impacts our way of thinking and what we feed our minds,
mm,
by what we listen to, by what we see on television, by what we allow ourselves to take in, and even the people in our community, our circles, what we feed our minds, linguistically speaking,
mhm.
our language actually impacts how we be.
Yes. And I'm
Mhm,
glad you brought that up because, when we get into the conversation today was about hair,
mhm.
and I one of the things I bring to people about what is hair for them. And so for you, like, how do you identify hair for yourself? How does hair represent you, or what do you think about when you think about hair?
Well, it's an interesting question, um, because when I think about hair, I think about how does your your style represent your personality,
Hmm.
represent like the who you are. And also hair is just the thing on your head.
Hmm.
So it's versatile. It can be changed. It grows back. If it doesn't grow back, then it's okay because there's so many opportunities to style it. There are, I mean, I think hair has changed so much over the years, and the context for the different ways that we as women, and especially as women of color, wear our hair has shifted and changed.
Hmm.
And so for me personally, I go with what is comfortable and easy,
Hmm.
and that I can style in different ways, and that I don't have to, put any chemical or besides a little color here and there. I do like a
Right.
little color, but just in general, what I can roll out of the bed
Hmm.
and put together.
For sure. For sure. Would you agree that there's some significance to it, like how it impacts how we view ourselves?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that is really a conversation that is. I would say is an how do I want to say this? An externally given conversation. Because I think w- if we were to go way back in the day, that wasn't really a conversation. I think it didn't become a conversation until we started to have the influence of white supremacism culture
Mhm.
and people telling us that our hair was not was ugly or was not professional or was too kinky or whatever the case may be, right?
Right.
And when they began to create this standard of beauty that didn't include um, brown skin and textured hair,
Mhm.
that's when we were sort of influenced or perturbated, if you will, uh, with what our value is based on how we wear our hair.
For sure. Sure.
Mhm.
Sure. And so, I see that you're natural. How long have you been natural or even, with your locks? How long you been wearing your locks?
I have been wearing my hair natural since 2000, since 2000. Yes, 2000. So in I was in medical school. I remember I just got tired of relaxing my hair. Now I was one that I used to like to wear my hair very, very short. And I relaxed it. I wore it relaxed, but I have very sensitive scalp. So, how I don't know if you've ever, relaxed your hair. Some people I know have been natural their whole lives,
I
but
used to have the relaxers, yes.
okay, so then you know that there's like all kind of ritual to before you get the relaxer. You can't scratch your hair, had to do the padding before. But even so, I would always burn. I would always burn, no matter how little time that relaxer was on my scalp. In order to get my hair to a straight texture, I would burn. And I just got tired of it. And so in 2020, I started to let that perm grow out and I wasn't even keen to press and curl. I was just like, it's gonna grow out the way it grows out, you know. And my mom had locked her hair. Now, my auntie on my dad's side, my dad's sister, she had been locked for probably like 20, 30 years. And so she was like really the first person in my family close to me that I had got to watch, you know, maintain natural hair. And then my cousins were natural as well. And then my mom locked her hair. And she was one that was like, oh, you should do this too. And I was like, well, it's such a permanent style. Um, I don't know. I have to be ready for it, right? And then one day I went to Orlando during a visitation of a residency program, and we went to this poetry open mic night, and I saw this beautiful Black woman who had just puffy, like the big puffy locks.
Mhm.
And I remember walking up to her and saying, Your hair, and your hair are just beautiful, and I would love to, if I could wear my hair like that." And at the time I hadn't locked it. It was just sort of like natural. And she
Mhm.
was like, and you can. And I don't know if for me that was sort of like a permission,
Mhm.
like giving a permission that to wear my hair natural. But that's what clicked it for me. And I remember in 20 in 2021, 2001, after that event, going home, cutting all the perm out my hair, going to the loctician and saying, lock it up. And that was the old days when they did the comb twists and then you had to do
Mhm.
all the things to maintain it
For
until
sure.
it grew out into locks.
For sure. I really want to go back to even talking about the chemical burn. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because it's funny because how accepting we've been about the chemical burn. Like it was just part of it, you know?
Mhm.
And because I remember talking to one of my clients about that, like how it was just part of the routine. Any other chemical burn, it'd be like, oh, go to the hospital or something like that. And because I remember even for myself, you're gonna laugh. I thought the longer you kept the relaxer on, the longer my hair was gonna be.
Oh,
Yeah, and I one
yeah.
time I let it sit on so long.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I can only imagine. Oh.
And then, oh, it was horrible. It was
Mhm.
horrible. And the burning and everything. And I'm just like, why is it that just because it's beauty or something, or because it's gonna make my hair look long, I'm willing to accept the punishment. You know what I mean? Because that's punishment, chemical
Mhm.
burn.
Mhm.
And then I don't know if of our listeners, the viewers ever had a relaxer, but or had a chemical burn. That chemical burn is serious.
And it hurts for a minute afterwards, and you get the scab on your scalp and
Yeah. Mine was it got pussy. That's how bad it was.
oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it is literally a chemical burn. If I
Mhm.
go do something and I get chemical burn on my finger just randomly or something, I'd be like, "Ooh, what should I do?" But on my head, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And I just really think about the things that we create as normality when it is not. It's very
Yeah.
damaging. And even research now, they're saying that it actually causes cancer. But people are
Mm.
still doing it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. My sister once said to me, and this was not regarding hair, but it was regarding beauty, and it just made you made me think about it. When we were, it was around shoes, and I like to wear comfortable shoes, uh, just because I like to wear comfortable shoes. Like I don't like my feet to hurt,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And so she said to me, "Well, beauty is pain," and I was like, "Not for me."
Right.
I said, well, I'll just have to be plain Jane then. Like that's, and I think that, things have shifted since that time because that was well over a decade ago, but things have shifted since that time, but still the mindset that beauty is pain, it influences this whole hair thing. Like, oh, in order to, even with braiding hairstyles, I
Mhm.
remember I stopped getting braided hairstyles because the braids would be so tight initially. And I would have a headache for the first like 2 or 3 days. And
Mhm.
I'd be like, why does it have to be like that? Even to have your hair be pretty and or to be snatched, as the young people say.
Right.
Does it have to be so tight? So I couldn't even do braided styles, which is one of the reasons chose to lock because I like the look of a braided style,
Right.
meaning I like the locks themselves, but
Right.
I didn't want to have that very tight hair pull feel.
Right. And I totally agree with that too, because I remember when I got braids, but it was so sensitive and the pulling,
Hmm.
and like you said, beauty is pain. Like, what? Who says that? I mean, why was that even created? Why
Hmm.
can't just beauty be beauty?
Right.
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 So yeah. So with that being said, did you discover anything as far as, I'd say, mental pain or mental discovery when you decided to actually go natural? Did you experience anything like that for yourself?
It's interesting because I've heard a lot about, others who have experienced that. But for myself, I don't feel like I experienced a lot of microaggression for my hair.
Mhm.
And maybe because I was just so matter of fact about it. I remember, um, and also I think because, I had my family was locked. So I locked my mom, my auntie was locked, my mom locked her hair, my cousins went natural, my dad locked his hair. I was in this whole family of natural hair.
Right.
So and so I had this sort of confidence about this is the way it's going to be. And I remember being asked, just as when I first started my locks, my hair was super short and in the comb twist. And one of my med school classmates asked me, well, what do you think they're going to say? Or do you think it's going to influence your ability to get in? And I remember my response is, well, if that influences me getting in, then it wasn't the place for me to be anyway. And if they have anything to say about it, I mean, you know, that's their problem, not mine. My hair is my hair and it's my business. And I think that I could only have that because I had a family of people who um, instilled that confidence for me to be me,
Right.
right? And so throughout the years, maybe I just carried myself in that way
Mm.
that it was never an issue for me. It was never, your hair's not professional. And I was mostly in white spaces. I will say that in residency, it was a fairly diverse residency, but diverse as in around the world.
Mhm.
Um, but I never had a patient say anything to me about it. I mean, besides complimenting me and, and asking me if it was my real hair. That's a thing that used to happen very often when it was very long. Is
Mhm.
that all your hair? That there comes the assumption, by the way, that all Black women wear weave, all
Right.
Black women with long hair. It's not their hair. That's
Right.
that's a whole nother aspect of this conversation.
Mm,
And I never felt like there were any microaggressions toward me for the way I wore my hair.
right. And I think even to the point of some of it not was it I mean, even a concern. You're like, look, I'm here to help people. And if you're gonna judge me
Mhm.
based on my hair, then that's your problem. You won't get, my help, right?
Yeah, like, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll, bye-bye.
Right. It's funny because, even when I talk to my clients and just talk to people in general, I have a friend of mine who was also a PhD candidate, and she was telling me once the whole pandemic happened, um, her parents were like, "Baby, you okay?" Because she decided to go natural.
Mm.
So it was like something was wrong with her because she decided to start wearing her hair naturally. And, another client of mine, she was telling me her parents are very upset with her because she's wearing her hair naturally.
Well, that's interesting.
Quite. And it was just no. I had another client who's a male, and he came in and he says, "Well, I'm about to go on some interviews. So, he has curly hair." He said, "So I need to cut my hair down some." And I said, "What?" I said,
Mm.
"Well, did you ask them if you need to cut your hair maybe?" Not that
Mhm.
he needed their permission, but it was the fact that he thought he needed to cut his hair to do an interview.
Right.
I was like, "Well, did you even ask him?" He said, "No, I never thought to ask."
Mm.
And I was just like, "But why we even have to ask, even consider?" And
Right.
I mentioned something with even his family, and he was like, "No, my family, they're against me wearing my hair like this." Yeah.
That is very interesting.
Thank you all for enjoying the show. The Texture of Me is proud and excited to announce the first ever Textured Hair Approved CE credits. You can find it at thetextureofme.com/education. When it's time to renew, you know what to do. Again, thank you so much for your support and continue enjoying the show.
It is interesting because the area that I was in most that I have been impacted with having my hair natural is in the dating world.
Mm,
And there are surprisingly um, a significant amount of men who don't prefer this type of hair. And I
mm,
remember my son's father,
mhm,
who we're great friends now, he's heavily involved in my son's life. I remember when we were dating, he says to me, and he's from Alabama,
mhm,
he's like, well, he asked me how long have I worn my hair like that? And I shared with him. And he says, well, n- I've never dated a woman with locks. And normally I don't think I'd be attracted to a woman with locks. But, you know, I think this is you're different. Like he says whatever he says, like you're different or something like that. And I
mhm.
was like, okay, that's interesting. Right. And it wasn't the last time a man said something like that to me. Like,
Mm,
oh, I've never dated a woman with locks. And normally I wouldn't be attracted to a woman with locks, but dot dot dot.
mm,
And so that's where I've been. Now, on the flip side, I have had men who are extremely drawn to me because I wear my hair natural.
mm.
So I don't want to paint the picture that most men, but it was surprising that, even our own men would be like, I don't know about this.
Right.
Would you ever cut the locks out? And I was like, nope. Well, I mean, I might. I will say never. I won't say I don't use like always and never,
Mhm.
but the likelihood that's going to happen in the next decade or two is pretty slim. So,
It's when
you know, if
right,
you
it's
don't
whenever
like it
you want
now, we
to.
should say goodbye.
Yeah, yeah, it's when you want to, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And I just think about like the level of self-expression and the self-identity that texture hair provides, kinky, coily, curly, wavy locks, and in a society where it's being discriminated, that we even had to do the Crown Act, you know?
Mhm.
And I don't know if you know, this past recently they had the whole Crown Act Day and everything like that, and really making emphasis on how discrimination is impacting people, and we need to change that. And
Mhm.
my work is really being bringing the awareness of the mental barriers and psychological implications that hair discrimination has on people with textured hair.
Yeah.
So people, the Crown Act is addressing so people don't get kicked out of school or get fired from a job. And now we're having, more states, actually more cities versus states that who are having the Crown Act passed.
Mhm.
But it's still the point that even we're having to do that, a generation where we have the youth who are fully self-expressed now. This generation,
Mhm.
they're like, hey, either you accept me, or you don't, and you're gonna deal with it.
Right.
And so, I just love that even with you wearing your hair, with locks. Does your son have locks as well, or?
No, he has short hair.
Yeah, short hair. Yeah, short hair.
Mhm.
Awesome, awesome. But yeah, but it's just a society where we actually able to wear our hair the way we want to. My oldest son, he has locks, and
Mhm.
my youngest, he wears his hair curly and long.
Yeah.
But I,
Yeah.
I, I, I love to see people just to wear their hair whatever way they want to.
Yeah.
Because a level of self-expression that is revealed in that is the discovery. Because I'm still in the salon as well. I've recently had clients that come in and they have some, textured hair. I do a lot of textured hair clients. I do straight hair. Hair is just hair. Let me just
Right.
say,
Hair
at a
is hair.
certain level, right?
Mhm.
And but people are becoming, and they're wearing wanting to wear the hair. And Dr. Clairborne, they have literally been crying after I do their hair. They're like, I never knew my hair could look like this.
Wow.
Yes, and I'm just like this is why I do this work,
Yeah.
you know? And I really try to share with people, texture hair has no color. And what I mean is that 70% of people have some type of textured hair,
Mhm.
majority, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so to even have a society that thinks straight hair is the way to be, I'm like, something's wrong here?
Yeah.
And in the field, go ahead, you want to say something?
I was just gonna say, I had a conversation with my son just last week because we were up and he made a comment about wishing his hair was straighter.
Mm,
And I think because he's had his guy friends and they have straight hair, and he's like, and I said, well, tell me why you wish your hair was straighter. And he says, well, I think straight hair looks cooler. You can like make it spiky and you can put it into a mohawk. And so I was having the conversation like, well, you can put your hair in a mohawk with curly hair,
mm,
and curly hair looks cool too. And he's 7, so I have to prove everything. He's like, I
mm,
don't believe you. I said, okay, well, let's ask Papa G and Mama Sha. So they shared with him, like, how curly hair is really looked at as handsome and beautiful, and he still didn't believe me. So I said, well, let's look up an article. So I looked up an article, and I mean, it was literally I read an article of how they did some surveys. They did like an actual study where they tested straight against curly hair, and curly hair by a large amount was significantly chosen more as the an attractive way to style, or to an attractive appearance.
mhm.
And I just thought that it was rich to be able to have that conversation with him, because then he was like, oh, okay. Of course, I tell him, and my dad and bonus mom tell him, no, no deal. Read the article. He's like, okay, it's like, okay, my hair is cool. But that I have to have that conversation with him. And I
Yeah.
think it's normal to compare and contrast, for kids to compare and contrast, and because I have seen, when I was a kid, I remember some of my friends wishing that their hair were curly, and I was telling my son, people actually put chemical in their hair to make it curly now.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, they do.
So
Mhm.
what that conversation is beginning, I believe, to be overturned. And still, when you have educators, and I've heard this, it just really burns me up, who will say things to children, little girls, about their hair, or who will send home notes to parents. Or at some point, I think I will remember reading or hearing from one of my colleagues that a teacher cut a
Mhm.
child's hair in school, or attempted to straighten it with a blow dry, or do, those are the unspoken messages that get sent,
Yeah.
that one's hair is not good enough the way it is.
Right. Right. Unless, I mean, not even, I'm even also thinking about like being raised where if the hair is, when the hair is natural and it was hard to comb,
Mhm,
remember? And
mhm,
so it's just like this pulling of the hair and da 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 and the tangling, because then they're not even taught how to do our hair. You know what I'm saying? Parents not taught how to do our hair. And so the best way was the kitty perms, what we call it, right?
mhm.
And to straighten it to make it more manageable. But yet the child, or even me growing up, it was like that was the only way to do my hair.
Right,
And so of course
right.
I'm not gonna like it curly because I knew I was gonna deal with it being painful,
Mhm,
or getting in trouble, or
mhm,
I I was just thinking about the stories. I couldn't go swimming that often. There's different things. I
mhm.
was banded from being fully self-expressed as a child
Yeah,
because of the way my hair was.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Totally get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So it's just it could go on, we can go on, and it's just really, I really think about the impact that hair is just hair, and it's really not, as a level of identity, as a
Mhm,
even level of self-discovery, because even with me taking, wearing my hair naturally, it was this level of confidence that I didn't even know was missing from me.
mhm.
And now that I have it, I mean, you can't tell me nothing. People are like, "Oh, your hair is beautiful." I
Yeah,
acknowledge it and I thank them. I already know, just what
yeah.
it is,
Right,
But
right.
it's a level of beauty and self-love that I have for myself, of a discovery that is, I'm like, wow. And that's why so much of what I'm doing is really having to people to see about it and hear the impact that it has, so we can transform how we view ourselves and really have this newfound love for ourselves that we didn't even know was missing.
Yeah.
You know?
I think you said something really key, like, hair is hair, and hair is discovery, and it can become like our identity. And I think that one of the things that we have to untangle is the meaning of hair. And I
Mm,
think before we can have it be like an exploration and discovery and fun, we have to untangle that that unconscious meaning that's been installed,
mm,
and really take it back to hair is hair. And
mm,
hair doesn't make the individual person that you are.
mhm,
It doesn't make a person's beauty or not.
mm,
Hair is just hair. Like, it is a thing. But then in getting that, then it can actually become an inquiry and a discovery. Like, well, if hair is just hair, then what could hair be?
mm.
Could I have hair be for me?
Right.
Right? Could it be an expression? Could it be a statement?
Mm,
Could it enhance my beauty,
mm.
or my handsomeness? Right?
Right.
What is could hair be, if really the meaning that I thought it was is not,
Mm.
right? And I
Yeah.
think it's just so important to, like, untangle that
Mm,
from our past conversation, because trying to slap new meaning on top of old meaning doesn't work, because the old meaning will just bubble up. It's like, take it down to the core, take it down to the strip it to the core, and then build it back up again with something
mm.
new,
Got you.
intentionally.
That's awesome. So what I'm hearing you saying is bring it to like the nothingness, right?
Absolutely.
And then we could create and then have a discovery of what to
Absolutely.
explore what our hair is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's also speaks to even like when people do the big chop. you know?
Mhm.
And just take it to the nothingness and then get to discover what is growing out of our head
Mhm.
and the mental discovery that shows up out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's really kind of what happened with me. It's like I went home that weekend and did the big chop. I just chopped it all off. Like, you know what? I'm shedding this old stuff
Mm.
and I'm doing something new. And then I'm going to like really go through a journey
Mm.
of growth. Because I think that and that's is why I love the work that you do is anything can be used and taken as a growth and expansion tool
Right.
and can take you on a journey of exploration and transformation.
Mm.
And particularly for us, hair is a huge thing to do that. You
Mm.
know, I think for many people, particularly for people of color, I mean, I've seen even in other cultures where, you know, they shave the head for a particular purpose. And it's almost like the meaning of hair becomes obsolete and then they regrow it. And there's a journey and a transformation that happens in that regrowing. And so I think that for us, it's at a very deeper level to be able to, you know, whatever we're going to do, do a big change, go from chemical to natural, or go from long to short, or go
Right.
from, you know, whatever to whatever, go from wig to, you know, just
Great.
wearing it, whatever, you know, like that kind of thing.
Mm. Thank you, because you really bring a different spin, even in this conversation, which I love, that to really understand about hair and the significance of it and just the journey and the process that hair can be for each and every one of us. And yeah, and just really get the point of the impact that it has been having in society and what we can do now.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for that. I really got that.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for being on the show. Just value who you are and the work that you're doing. Where can we find you? Where can our guests find you?
Well, so if you want to learn a little bit more about the mind remapping work that I do, you can go to mindremappingacademy.com. That's MINDREMAPPING Academy, ACADEMY.com. I can be found on any social media platform, just about. I'm not on Snapchat. I don't do the snapping and the chatting. But by doing backslash Dr. Maiysha, DrMaiySha. So YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and sometimes Twitter. Backslash Dr. Maiysha.
All right.
And also I do have a podcast of my own, the Black Mind Garden. And so you can find that on your favorite podcasting platform. That's the Black Mind Garden.
Yeah, and I'm looking to listen to more of that and hopefully be on your show. I would love to be on your show. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. You better.
Yes, for sure. Do you have any upcoming events? I know you just had a retreat, or do you have anything coming up soon?
Yeah, I do my NLP and hypnosis coach certification programs 4 times a year. So we do have a training that's coming up in September and November. So September 10th through 16th and November 1 through 7. So if you think you're listening, you're like, oh, I want to learn, these tools of NLP or learn how to do hypnosis or want to be a life coach, then you can reach out to me on my website and schedule a call with me.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for our listeners and our viewers, and Dr. Maiysha Clairborne. Thank you so much for being on the show, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Dr. J.
All right, love it. Bye. Thanks for
Bye.
listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the show, please share it with others. Post about it on your social media. Leave a rating and review. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.